Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise to get to what really matters. And today, wow, we are plunging into a topic that's, well, it feels like it's reshaping everything. Global competition and artificial intelligence. The big question we're asking is this really an AI Cold War? So our mission today for you listening is to take a really close look at this fascinating analysis we found. It argues we're right in the thick of an AI Manhattan Project and even a Cold War 2.0. Our goal, pull out the key insights, help you really grasp this high-stakes tech race without getting totally lost in the details. We want you to understand not just what's going on, but why it's so important.
Yeah, it's pretty striking how the source kicks things off. It immediately draws these powerful historical parallels. It really frames the whole AI development scene as, well, a new kind of global arms race. Think about the original Manhattan Project, the huge WWII effort for the atomic bomb. And then, of course, the Cold War rivalry that followed between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. This analysis suggests we're seeing something similar play out now. But instead of just nuclear weapons, the big arenas are AI and, interestingly, nuclear fusion, that push for super efficient clean energy. And the main players, it really boils down to America and China.
Okay, so that comparison to Cold War 1.0,
Yeah.
it definitely brings things to mind. Like back then, the tech race was all about jet fighters, wasn't it? And radar systems getting that edge. And obviously the space race, that whole epic contest. Was that basically the blueprint for how nations competed?
Exactly. Those were the absolute frontiers then. Innovation, competition, it was all focused there. So if you take that history and then sort of fast forward to today, Cold War 2.0 shifts the battlegrounds completely. The new frontiers are definitely AI and nuclear fusion. But the source also throws in China's huge economic projects, like the Belt and Road Initiative. That's part of the picture too. It does note that the U.S. seems to have significant leads right now, both in net positive fusion energy.
Which is huge, getting more energy out than in.
Right, a major milestone, and also in advanced AI labs. But, and this is key, it also highlights how fast China can catch up. Especially with open source AI models, they seem to move very quickly there.
Okay, talking about leads and advantages.
Yeah.
The analysis brings up something really concrete, almost shocking, really, the investment scale. This number just leaped out. The U.S. apparently has 11 times more data center space than China. How does that kind of, basic infrastructure translate into an AI advantage? Is it just about having more room for servers, or is it more complex than that?
That's a really crucial point because, yes, that 11x difference is massive. The source calls it an Apollo mission level of investment specifically in hyperscale data centers for AI. It's truly enormous, but it's not just about the physical space. It signals something deeper, an economic shift. The analysis points out that AI investment is actually starting to outpace consumer spending as a driver of GDP growth.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so it's not just a big number. It suggests a fundamental reprioritization of where national capital is flowing. Economic strength is maybe being measured now by cloud capacity and computing power almost as much as traditional factories.
That kind of investment. It leads to this really interesting parallel the source makes. Thinking back to WWII, those technological leaps eventually fueled the post-war baby boom, incredible prosperity. Could we actually see something similar happen because of today's AI investments, a new kind of economic boom? Or, is there a bigger risk of disruption this time? Job displacement for people who can't adapt fast enough?
Well, the author definitely leans towards the possibility of a boom, though they don't focus heavily on the disruption side. They use the example that after World War II, getting an education pretty much guaranteed you a good job. Why? Because all that new technology created this huge demand for skilled workers. And the argument is, yeah, that could absolutely happen again in the AI era. You get rapid tech change, opening up totally new jobs, new economic avenues we can barely even picture right now. It's more about reshaping the labor market, maybe, than just eliminating it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like how new technologies just become essential, almost overnight sometimes. The source then brings up these concepts, network effects and spillover effects. Can you unpack those a bit? What are they and why are they apparently so important in this AI age?
Right. These are really key to understanding how tech spreads and actually changes things. So network effects. Basically, as a technology gets better and more people use it, it hits a point where it just becomes the standard choice. Think about batteries, right? Dominant in cars, drones, maybe soon planes. The more people adopt it, the more valuable it becomes for everyone.
Okay, got it.
And then spillover effects. That's when innovation in one specific area ends up benefiting totally different industries, almost by accident sometimes, like NASA, right? Their space race work gave us everyday things, microwaves, even red light therapy, believe it or not. It creates this compounding cycle. Tech progress builds on itself, speeds things up, and the economic benefits just spread out.
It's interesting to think about who's funding all this,
Yeah.
because this deep dive points out a really big difference from the past. The original Manhattan Project, the Cold War space race, that was mostly government money, right? Top-down efforts. Is that how the AI race is working? Or is the dynamic different this time around?
That's a major divergence. This Cold War 2.0 is playing out differently there. Today's AI race, it's largely financed by private investment, big tech companies, venture capital. The government's role, according to the source, is more about creating the right conditions, enabling policies, maybe funding basic research, setting up regulations.
But not directly running the show.
Exactly. Not that kind of command and control structure we saw before. It makes the whole moonshot idea much more decentralized, driven by the market, really.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly because this part was fascinating. China's specific strategy. The source describes how China often pushes out open-source versions of advanced AI models pretty soon after U.S. companies release theirs. And sometimes they seem to focus more on efficiency, maybe, than raw power. Why do that? Why go open source when the U.S. often keeps its best stuff proprietary?
Yeah, that open source strategy from China is really, really insightful, and it seems to serve two main goals. First, it's about mobilizing their own talent domestically.
Hmm.
By releasing these models openly, they let Chinese universities, companies, developers, everyone build on them super quickly. It helps create this really vibrant internal ecosystem.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Second, and this is maybe the bigger geopolitical angle, it's about global soft power. These Chinese open source models get adopted all over the world. The source mentions places like the UAE, Brazil, Russia. So Chinese technical standards, their way of doing things, starts spreading globally. People get familiar with their approach. It's a subtle way to build influence, unlike the US closed source models, which tend to stay more within the US sphere. It's like building technical alliances without needing formal treaties.
Okay, so pulling it all together. The analysis argues this is Manhattan Project 2.0, Cold War 2.0, but different. We've hit on the funding being private, China's open source approach.
Yeah.
What else really marks this competition as distinct from the past? And I guess, does this change the fundamental nature of the rivalry?
Hmm.
Is it less about military muscle now and more about global standards and who controls the code?
Precisely. The key differences are pretty stark when you line them up. Today's process is mostly public, right? Not super secretive like the Manhattan Project. And like you said, the focus seems to be much more on global influence through tech, through standards, through digital infrastructure, rather than just purely military strength. So yeah, that does fundamentally change the game. The underlying goal might still be similar, proving one system is superior, gaining geopolitical advantage. But the methods are evolving. It's maybe a battle for minds, for technological adoption, for who gets to set the defaults for the world's digital future. So we connect all these dots. The big picture the article paints is that this global AI race isn't just another tech competition. It's seen as truly transformative, something likely to drive huge economic, social, and geopolitical shifts, maybe in the scale of what the nuclear age or the space race did. It's this really complex dance, isn't it, between open innovation and closed systems, private money versus government guidance, and these new forms of soft power being wielded by both the US and China.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? It really feels like we're watching a new kind of Cold War unfold, one fought with code, silicon chips, and cloud infrastructure instead of bombs and missiles. It's a pretty compelling, maybe slightly unnerving vision of how technology is actively shaping our world in ways we're just starting to understand. And maybe here's a final thought, something provocative for you to chew on. If this really is an AI Cold War, fought not with traditional weapons but with tech standards and global influence, what kinds of unexpected ripple effects might you start seeing in your own daily life? I mean, beyond just the gadgets you use. Could it change your job, your education, maybe even the underlying values embedded in the tech you interact with every single day? Something to think about.